not sure what you guys are all using for software, CAD software. Mostly AutoCAD, and you guys do your own stuff in-house, or you guys farm it out to drafting companies?
It's a lot. I think it's a lot of box design software, and a few people using AutoCAD.
Yeah, there's a lot out there. AutoCAD is by far the most prevalent software out there that architects use. And there were, when I first started working on the computer, I can remember this was like late 80s, early 90s. And I remember, hand drafting with the parallel rule, triangles and everything, and the electric eraser, getting your sleeves all messed up with the graphite, and the erasing shield. I remember thinking to myself, there is no way in hell I can sit in front of a computer all day and draft on a computer. Now that I've been doing it for 20 years, I can't imagine going back and drafting the old-fashioned way because it was so incredibly cumbersome. And in terms of making changes, you got a phone call from the client, they want to make a change, and you're just like, want to pull your hair out because it meant, pulling out that electric razor just go. So now it's much easier, certainly. But AutoCAD is certainly the most prevalent. When I first started, I used MicroStation, which I really liked. I liked it a lot better than AutoCAD, and I probably still would if I went back to it. But in terms of compatibility with our other consultants, our structural engineers, our mechanical engineers, they all use AutoCAD. So sending drawings back and forth is really easy. I think they probably improved the compatibility between softwares, but back then it was torturous. If somebody was working, like we were working in MicroStation, and somebody else was working in AutoCAD, and you sent the files back and forth, they would always get corrupt, and information would get lost, and you spent all this time trying to recoup all that, and it was just a disaster. So I think it's better now. But in case you're not aware, BIM, are you guys all familiar with BIM? Yeah, that's. I mean, it's the way things are moving in terms of architects and engineers putting their product out there. It's pretty earth-shattering. It's the same, well, maybe not quite the same level as going from drawing on a drafting table to a computer, but it's the next wave, and slowly but surely, all the architects are starting to move into that direction. Certainly, the larger architecture firms and larger engineering firms are already there. But smaller firms like myself, we're seriously looking into it because once we get past the learning curve, it'll make our job so much easier. So BIM is building information modeling, and essentially, if you're not familiar with it, it's every line that you draw on the computer has data associated with it. So it's kind of like every line is a smart line. And so, or a door that you put in a wall, or a window. And it's also three-dimensional. Even though you're drawing it in 2D, it actually has information to make it 3D. So once you kind of draw the plan out and you stick the doors and the windows in, then you can essentially, this is what my clients always say, can't you just click a button and change this? But you essentially click a button and change it. And it takes your 2D drawing and it brings it up into 3D. And so then at that point, once it's in 3D, then you can model it and look around, look at it from different perspectives. Right now, we draw in 2D, and then we have other software, 3D software that we use, SketchUp, which is, I don't use it, but my assistant uses it. She's fresh out of school. She's been out of school for 3 years. But, the younger generation is, it's just part of the way they're growing up, and so they know the SketchUp. And right now, it's still free. Like you can download it for free. You can get enhanced versions that you can pay extra for it, but it's free, so it's really enticing. And it's smart for SketchUp because they're getting market share, and once we all get locked into it, they'll start charging us. But it's still that's one software, and then you have your 3D software and you have your 2D software, and they're separate, and you have to draw them separately. Whereas with building information modeling, you're just drawing it once, and then it's smart, and it makes itself go into 3D. And the other great thing about this is that in addition to being able to go from 2D to 3D, it has all this data, and so in terms of takeoffs, square footage takeoffs, it has all that information as well. So you can create schedules, and you can put in prices, and it'll essentially automatically calculate all that for you. So it's a real major change in the way things are being put out by architects and engineers.